A man described as the leader of the gang responsible for most of the drugs in Limerick was jailed for 10 years at the city's. A man described as the leader of the gang responsible for most of the drugs in Limerick was jailed for 10 years at the city's Circuit Criminal Court yesterday. Christy Keane, 41, Singland Gardens, Ballysimon, Limerick, was caught with 19.5 kilograms of cannabis by 3 Garda detectives at St. Munchin's Street last August 21. The cannabis, which was contained in a coal sack, was being carried by Keane across some waste ground when he was apprehended. It had a street value of €240,000 and was sufficient to make 190,969 hand-rolled cigarettes, the court heard. Keane pleaded not guilty to possession of the drug worth in excess of €12,697 for sale or supply. He had said he was incorrectly identified by the Gardaí. He claimed to be carrying a bridle and a rope for a horse when he was then confronted by them. A defense witness, who cannot be named because he is before the court on a charge, said he was carrying a sack of hash when he saw a Garda coming towards him. He had dropped the sack and hid himself. A nurse who was out for a run nearby was able to give him medical assistance in the aftermath of the attempted hit. Limerick crime boss Christy Keane. Christy Keane. Convicted drug dealer Christy Keane was fortunate on the day he was shot multiple times by 2 McCarthy Ryan gunmen, as a nurse who was out for a run nearby was able to give him medical assistance in the aftermath, the Special Criminal Court has heard. The non-jury court also heard yesterday that it took over 5 years for the matter to reach court because a Garda involved in the case was prosecuted in a completely unrelated event where it was alleged there was a corrupt transaction. Limerick man John Costello only went along with providing transport to the 2 members of the McCarthy Ryan crime gang who shot crime figure Keane when he was directed to do so by the person who ordered the hit, his defense lawyers told a sentencing hearing today. The court heard during today's sentence hearing of Costello that Keane had just parked his Jeep on the grounds of the University of Limerick to go for an early morning gym session in June 2015 when 13 rounds were discharged into it. Convicted drug dealer Keane was sentenced to 10 years in jail in 2000 for possession of €240,000 worth of cannabis. Limerick crime boss Christy Keane. He had pleaded guilty to knowing or believing another person or persons to be guilty of an arrestable offense, to wit assault causing serious harm to Christy Keane, and did without reasonable excuse provide transport to said persons to impede their apprehension or prosecution for the commission of that offense, contrary to Section 7(2) of the Criminal Law Act 1997. At today's sentence hearing, Detective Sergeant Padraig O'Dwyer, from Henry Street Garda Station, told prosecuting counsel John Byrne SC that the genesis of the matter had derived from the infamous Limerick feud, where the main protagonists of the McCarthy-Dundon criminal organization had morphed into the McCarthy Ryan gang, which he called a sophisticated enterprise. At this point, Michael O'Higgins SC, defending Costello, said his client's involvement had only occurred post this event and he was not involved in the event itself. Mr. Byrne said the feud dated back to 1993 and in the intervening period there had been 19 murders and 15 attempted murders. Det Sergeant O'Dwyer said Christy Keane had long been a target for the McCarthy Ryan organized crime group. Mr. Byrne said almost simultaneously a red Ford Focus appeared in the car park, where 2 gunmen approached the Nissan Jeep and discharged 13 rounds into it. A technical examination was done of the scene and it found that 8 shots had been discharged from a Glock pistol and 5 shots from a Luger semi-automatic pistol. Keane was hit a number of times by the bullets and tried to make his escape as the gunman fled back to the Ford Focus. Keane was fortunate as a nurse, who was going for a run, was present at the complex. She observed what had occurred and rendered medical assistance at the scene to the victim. Keane, who was taken to hospital, had been hit a total of 4 times, 3 times to his upper arm and once to his wrist. They were non-life-threatening injuries, said Mr. Byrne, and 1 bullet wound had gone through his lower back which punctured a lung. The injuries constituted serious harm. The red Ford Focus left the scene and was discovered burned out at Newtown in Anacotty in Limerick. The Luger semi-automatic pistol and the Glock pistol were located inside the car. Mr. Burns said the investigation found that the 2 shooters had left the red Ford Focus at Anacotty and departed in a white Volvo estate car. The 2 shooters went to Drombana in Limerick and the Volvo was burnt out at that location. The court heard that as the Volvo was driving to Drombana, a black BMW, which was linked to the person who ordered or conducted The hit, on Keane, had also driven to that location.